Hello, this video is going to be a quick admin overview on how to modify your Brokermint system to match your brokerage's workflow. This is a great video for either first-time users or any admin looking to get a quick refresher on how to do certain processes within your Brokermint system. Brokermint is a back-office transaction management software that covers the deal from listing to close. It's designed to be used by agents, admins, and their TCs. Importantly, Brokermint also integrates with outside vendors like MLSs, CRMs, accounting softwares like QuickBooks, and even Google Drive and Dropbox. When you first log on to the system, it's going to take you on to the transactions screen. If this is your first time logging in, there won't be any data here, but that'll change as soon as you start using the system. One of the first and most important changes you can make is to go into your settings, company settings. What this allows you to do is input a brokerage name, address, and insert a logo if needed. You can update this information as often as you like. Do keep in mind that this is the name of your brokerage that will appear on any CDA that you create through Brokermint, so it is very important that this information is accurate. The next settings that we're going to go over is the users settings. This is where you can come to add or remove any users that you need to modify. To create a new user, you would hit Create User in the upper part of your screen. Input the required information like first name, last name, and email address. This box down here is where you can choose whether to send them a welcome email or not. If you decide not to send them their welcome email at the time that you're creating them, you can always send that agent or user a welcome email later. Once you're done entering their information, you hit Next, and this brings you to commissions. This is where you choose what the agent can or cannot do within the system. Once again, this information can always be modified later. Once you're happy with your permissions, you hit Next again, and this is where you can assign the agent their commission plans. You hit Create User, and now you have a brand new user in the system. If you need to remove that user at a later date, just deactivate them and they will no longer count towards your user total, nor will they show up as an agent when trying to create new transactions. The next section we're going to talk about are checklists. Checklists are what are added to transactions that tell your agent what documents and tasks need to be completed. We have two different ways of creating a new checklist within Brokermint. You can either clone a checklist that exists already by clicking on the appropriate checklist, hitting Action, Clone Template, giving that clone a name, and then hitting Enter. This makes an exact replica of that checklist, and now you can start adding or removing items. To add an item, you just click Action, Add Task, and you can add any task that you like. Give that task a name, give it a description if it needs one, select whether it requires a document or not, and then assign it a due date. So if this task was due 5 calendar days after the transaction's created in Brokermint, you can make that selection and hit Add Task. If you need to remove a task, hit the X to remove. If you need to modify any existing tasks, you can just click on the task and update anything that needs to be updated. Another way of starting a template is to click Add Template. This will start a new blank template that you can start adding items to, whichever items are needed. Now the next section we're going to talk about is fields. There's a lot of different options on here, and you can feel free to watch any of the individual videos we have on these sections. The one part I do want to mention in this overall video are the transaction fields section. This is where you can come to modify the fields that it's going to prompt you and your agents to complete when creating a new transaction within Brokermint. So if there's a field that you want your agents to be filling out but is not currently in Brokermint, all you have to do is click Add Field, give the field a name, choose what type of field it is. If you choose drop down, give the agents their different options to choose from, and then you can say whether it's required or not. It can either be required always or when a transaction status becomes a certain thing. So if certain information is only known when a deal is in a pending status, great. Choose required when it becomes pending, hit save, and now that field is automatically added to the bottom of the list. If it's an important field to you and you would rather have it be closer to the top, that's totally fine. Grab the field that you need and you can drag and drop it anywhere on this list. Now the next and final section we're going to talk about underneath settings is the commission plans section. You can click on commission plans to create any type of commission plan that you need. We have everything from simple plans to sliding scale cap plans that adjust depending on the numbers your agents are bringing in. Now there's too many details to cover in an overall meeting like this, so the main piece I want you to know is that if you need to create a new commission plan, you can click Add Plan. Once you've added the plan, you can then choose what your agent's split needs to be by clicking on Split and putting in the percentage that they're keeping. If you need to add any deductions, like any off-the-top deductions, you would click Pre-Split Deduction. If you need to add any deductions that come out of your agent's net after receiving their split, you would do Post-Split Deductions. We have a very detailed video on commission plans. Feel free to type commission plans or click on the link in the description of this video. Once a commission plan has been created, you then assign it to the appropriate users. So you can navigate to Users, select your correct user, select commission plans, and start adding as many plans as they would ever need. Once again, keep in mind the last plan that you add to the list will be their quote-unquote default plan. If you need to remove any commission plans from an agent, maybe Agent Frank is no longer on Plan A, we can go ahead and hit the X to remove. Now, as an admin, notifications are extremely important to us as well. We can change our notifications by clicking on the notifications toolbar here. When you click on that, it'll bring up a list of email notifications that you're available to receive. These are your personal notifications, so you turning these on or off does not affect any of your other users. You can turn them on or off by hitting the toggle. If you have a question about any of these, maybe you're not sure what transaction revoked means, we'll give it a click, and in the upper right hand corner it'll tell you exactly when that notification would go out to you. Now that you've done some basic system configuration inside of Brokermint, new transactions are ready to be created. Most brokerages pass this part of the process on to their agents. However, if you're going to be creating transactions for your agents, or if you just want to have a good understanding of what they'll be doing inside of the system, we'll cover how to start a transaction now. When ready, hit Create Transaction. If you're creating from scratch, you would go ahead and click Create New. Any of those fields that you had modified in the Settings, Fields, Transaction Fields screen from earlier, you would be prompted to fill in now. Now these fields at the top here are all standard. They're built into the system. Any field that you've created or modified would appear down here underneath Additional Fields. As you can see, some of these fields are required because I marked them as such, so the agent must fill these fields out before moving on. Once all the fields have been entered, all the dates have been entered in as well, you are able to choose what type of sale it is that you're working on in the top left. You can also choose the status of this particular transaction here. There's two different statuses a transaction can begin as in Brokermint, either listing or pending. Listing is any brand new listing that does not have a buyer under contract. Pending is essentially everything else. It's transactions where you represent the buyer. It's also listings that have a buyer under contract. We sometimes get the question of how do I create a closed deal if you're entering in historical data? Well, you can just start the transaction off as pending. After you've gone through the creation process, then you can mark it as closed. Now, this is also a good example of showing you how certain fields can be required in only certain scenarios. That lot number field that we created earlier, we selected it to be required when it's pending. Now that I've switched the status to pending, I have to fill it out before moving on. If we create just a listing, that field is no longer required, so it's no longer highlighted in red. Once the data is inputted on this screen, you hit Next. This brings you to the contacts page. This is not where you need to add yourself to the deal, nor is it where you would add on the agent. This is where you add on outside contacts like buyers, sellers, escrow officers, title companies, attorneys, people like that. You start typing in their name. If you've worked with them before, their name will appear. Select them from your contacts list, choose their role, and hit Add. If it's someone that's brand new to the system, someone you've never worked with before, after you've entered in their basic information, when you go to choose what their role is, it'll prompt you to create that person as a contact. You can go ahead, enter in any additional information you have on that individual. Once you're done, you can hit Create. Now that person is created as a contact, so all you have to do is finish out saying what their role is, clicking Add, and now the next time you go to work with that individual, they'll already be in the system for you. Once you're done on the contacts section, you can hit Next again, and this brings us to agents and commissions. This is the part of the transaction where the agent is either entering themselves if they're creating the deal, or the TC or admin is entering the agent if they're creating the deal for that agent. You choose what side of the transaction you're representing by hitting Select on either listing or buying side. Choose the name of the brokerage first. Now that the brokerage is on there, we can input the gross commission. Let's just say we were getting 2.5% representing this listing. We then add on the agent. To do so, we click Add Agent, click Add Agent again, and now you start typing in the name of that agent. Now, it's automatically going to show you their default commission plan underneath their name. So if for this deal they're using a different commission plan, just click on the drop down and you can select any plan that's needed. Hit Save, and now you have a completed transaction, and to finish this up, we just need to hit Create Transaction. Now, if you have any internal rules or maybe even state rules about recording both sides of the transaction, you can also use this as an opportunity to enter that information. So if you have to put in both sides, you can put in the true total gross commission in this top left box, match the listing side and the buying side commission, and then you can even enter in who's representing the buying side or listing side if you're on the buying side. Enter in that information, hit Save, and now we have both sides of the deal recorded, but most importantly, we have added ourselves to the correct side while also adding on the agent. Now the last step on this page is to hit Create. Before doing that, you can add in certain deductions like referral fees that come in off the top or additional incomes that come in from your clients. However, adding those on is a little outside of the scope of today's project, so we do have other videos that you can refer to for those items. Once you're done on this page, you hit create, and this will create the transaction. Once that transaction has been created, all of the data we entered in on step 1 will be available here. The people we added on steps 2 and 3 will all be here. And the commission information, if you have the correct permissions, will be accessible here inside of the commission screen. Now, generally, the next step for an admin, if you're involved in the transaction process, would be to add on a checklist. So whether this is done by the admin or by an agent or TC, they click Add underneath Checklists, and they choose the correct checklist. Now, depending on what the due dates and maybe even transaction assignments are for your deals, it's going to ask you to confirm some dates and maybe enter in a role or two. You can go ahead, fill in that information, click Add, and now you have a brand new checklist with items waiting to be completed. Now, most brokerages have their agents upload these documents, but if you're in charge of it, you do have 3 different ways of bringing documents into Brokermint. You can either click Upload to bring in one document at a time. You can also bring up your own File Explorer by just bringing up your File Explorer, navigating to the correct folder, and then dragging and dropping as many documents as you need into the transaction. You can drop these documents on any screen inside of the transaction, does not have to be document related. It'll bring all of those documents you drag and drop directly into the unsorted documents section. A third way you have of uploading documents is to click Add via email. When you click Add via email, it brings up a unique email address for this particular transaction, and any documents that you send as an attachment to this address will also automatically appear in unsorted documents, just as if you had dragged and dropped them. Once documents are in unsorted, you have a couple different options of things you can do. You can either assign these documents to wherever they need to go on the checklist, or if there's some work that needs to be done, maybe they need to be split or merged, you can do that in unsorted as well. Just click on the document, click Edit, and either split or merge this document. If you split, it allows you to choose what the page numbers are and where on the checklist they need to go. Now, in case you run into a scenario where maybe there's not a checklist item yet, page 3 is an addendum that's not built onto the checklist, you can actually now create new checklist items by hitting New. So when you click New, if you type in addendum or whatever the checklist item needs to be called, click Save. Now when you hit Split, these 2 items will go to the existing checklist items, while the third item here will actually create a brand new checklist item and assign the document to it. So if you find addendum on here, there it is, and there's our document. Now this next step is more for the agents, but when they are ready to submit these for approval, they're going to come into their Documents section, click Action, Submit for Review, and that'll push these documents off for review to whoever's in charge of that. This is where, as the admin, you would step in and get a notification about documents being submitted. You could click on your approved documents and approve any of these documents that are waiting to be approved or rejected. So we'll take the ones submitted today and take a look at these. You can now choose to approve documents if they're ready to be approved or reject if not ready. Now, if they are rejected, you do have to insert a reason. You can either manually type one in, or you can choose from your drop-down list of document reject reasons. If you're unsure of where to create these document reject reasons, please refer to our video on the subject. It'll be more than happy to walk you through that. So let's choose one of our reasons here. remove what we typed in, and reject it for missing that date. We now can continue on and approve more documents. Now this screen can do multiple things. You can of course approve or reject your documents. You also have an info button that will give you general information on the transaction, like when it listed, when it's supposed to close. You can also go into your contacts section and view contacts related to this transaction. If you click on documents, this will allow you to view a list of documents for this transaction as well. So it'll show you what's pending, what has previously been approved, or what's missing entirely from the checklist for this deal. Once you find the information you're looking for, you can continue to move forward and review the rest of the documents. Once this has been completed, it'll send a message back to the agent telling them which documents were approved, which ones were rejected. You can click submit and submit those back to the agent. Once you're done approving the documents, you can navigate back into the transaction. If you need to double check anything that you've done, you can click on checklist and this will show you what has been approved and what has been rejected. Now when it comes time to keep the transaction up to date, you have multiple ways of doing this. You can either use the edit button to click edit to update anything like price or any of the date fields. You can also use this button to switch the status. So if a buyer has been found for this property, you or the agent can switch this transaction to a pending status. If it's ready to be closed, feel free to close the transaction, also utilizing that edit button. If you need to come in here to add any users or contacts, that can be done underneath users and contacts. You can click action to add anybody, or you can hit revoke to remove anybody. Every transaction also has an activity log. You can use this to view a time and date stamped activity log of everything that's happened in the transaction from the moment it was created to the current moment in time. It also keeps original copies of all documents. So if you accidentally delete something out of Brokermint, not a big deal. Just come into the activity log, click on the link of whichever document you deleted, and then you can drag and drop that document right back into Brokermint. One recent change we've also added into our activity log is the ability to add in comments. So in case you need to put anything in here for compliance, like why a transaction was canceled, why a buyer backed out, anything like that, you can click add comment, type in whatever notes you have, and now they'll become a permanent part of this transaction. Another common action an admin may need to do is generate a CDA. Some places call it a commission demand, a demand disbursement. It's all the same form though. You send it to a title company or an escrow officer or sometimes a lawyer, and that's what instigates them to send you a check for your closed deal. To do this, you'd click in commissions. Once you're here, verify that all the deductions and splits look correct. When completed, you can click Action, Generate CDA. You'll notice that it automatically has title and escrow filled out. The reason behind this is because in the Users and Contacts section, I added a company underneath the role Escrow Officer. Title company works as well. Once you do that, you can come into Commissions, click Action, Generate CDA, and here we go. The form name is here. You can modify this if you wish. The title escrow information automatically populated. Our contacts are listed. Any special instructions that we need to have in here will be displayed, and then the payout information is here. And we understand some brokerages don't get itemized checks to each of the people getting paid out, so you can definitely switch this to consolidated, which will prompt the title company to send you one lump sum check. No matter which option you choose, you can hit generate, and now you have a brand new CDA that's ready to be downloaded, emailed, saved to the transaction, whatever needs to happen to it. Your options are all down here. You can download the document as a PDF, save it to the unsorted section of the transaction, or you can even email it or e-sign it directly from this screen. If we go Save to Unsorted, that'll place this document and our screen into the Unsorted Documents section. And from here, we can take the CDA and assign it to anywhere on the checklist it needs to go. We can even download it or e-sign it from this screen as well. Now, when a transaction is ready to be closed, you're going to click Edit, Close Transaction. Whoever is the owner of the Brokermint account will automatically receive an archive of that file. If you need to receive an archive as well, you can definitely come into Documents and hit Action, Download All. This will send you an archive that you can download. We also offer Google Drive and Dropbox integrations in case you need those archives to be sent to either one of those platforms automatically. Please reach out to us if you have any questions about Google Drive. Dropbox, we have a very easy video you can follow. And that's the main parts of our admin training video we're going to do today. If you have further questions, we encourage you to check out our video guide section, where we have many great videos that cover everything from agent training to more detailed items like splitting documents. We also have an online chat feature you can utilize to chat in real time with us to answer any immediate questions you have. And of course, you can reach out to us at our support center by calling 619-798-6369 extension 2. You can also email us at support@brokermint.com. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your continued business with us, and have a great rest of your day.